Elena Valdez returns to her hometown, reborn, wealthy, and secretive, to destroy the man and the circle that stole her life. Along the way, she falls for a truth seeker who thinks he's rescuing her. Elena Valdez stepped off the evening train and felt the orchard air close around her like a memory. Her city clothes didn't fit the narrow streets of Del Mar, but she wore them like armor. 7 years had taught her how to build new names. Tonight her name was Evelyn Cade, art patron, philanthropist, woman who had nobody left to betray. The town hadn't changed the way people did. Gossipy, slow, prone to believing clever lies. The bakery where she'd once shared kisses and secrets smelled of cinnamon and old gossip. There in a window, she saw him. Daniel Klein. He'd been her fiancé, then the catalyst that burned her life down. He looked older but arrogant in a new way, like a man who'd won. He walked with Mara Ortega, her one-time best friend, now Daniel's wife, and Del Mar's queen of social good. They laughed, mouths full of the spoils Elena had been forced to leave behind. Elena's chest tightened. Every laugh was a ledger entry. Her plan was simple and cold as winter. Get inside their world, dismantle their alliances, reveal what Daniel had stolen, and reclaim the life they took. But she knew revenge wasn't a single night's work. It was a patient art. When a young reporter bumped into her on the lane, spilling his coffee, his name card fluttered out. Rafael Cruz, investigative journalist, new to town, hungry. He apologized with a laugh that wasn't afraid to ask questions. Elena smiled in a way that said she had answers, and she let him keep wondering. As she walked away, she pulled a small photograph from her pocket. Her mother younger, smiling in an orchard before everything turned to ash. She touched the edges and whispered, "Soon." Behind her, Daniel lifted his glass and Mara leaned on his arm. They did not know the woman in the window had already written their names into a quiet, precise list. Elena rented the small carriage house at the back of the old Valdez estate, the only property she could approach without being recognized. She spent that first night unpacking memories, invoices, a ledger battered and stained, and a tiny key that fit into a box where her father had hidden small things. She hunted through archives at the library until the clerk, a gray woman named Ms. Alvarez, squinted and said, "You remind me of someone." Elena smiled carefully. She learned how the Klein family had expanded. Daniel as the public face, Victor Klein as the patriarch whose charities were fronts for fortunes. The deeper she dug, the more she found oddities. Transfers in the dead of night, contracts signed with forged names. A small company in Cyprus that seemed to funnel payments. But vengeance needed leverage. Elena began courting local artists and donors at gallery openings, introducing Evelyn Cade's charm to people who had once adored Mara's smile. She offered a scholarship in her mother's name, a public gesture. Behind the smile was a map of influence, campaign donors, city planners, journalists who loved a whisper. Rafael found her again, this time with questions about Daniel Klein's sudden takeover of the Valdez orchards. He had instincts. He smelled that something in Del Mar's shine hid rot. He told Elena he was working on a story about disappeared companies and small investors who'd vanished when Klein's firm arrived. Elena listened like a hawk hearing a mouse. He wanted sources, access. He needed a toe in the door. Elena gave him one, a dinner with an old friend who could corroborate small suspicious payments. Rafael left with the glint of a man who'd sniffed a lead. Elena went home and placed the tiny key beside the ledger. She sealed her mouth and her memory. People would think Evelyn Cade was a philanthropist. She would use that to pry open the locks Daniel had welded onto her life. Elena attended a fundraiser hosted in a Klein mansion she used to dream of living in. Mara greeted her like old times, warm, practiced, a woman who never dropped the mask. Daniel moved through the crowd like a king ministering to his court. Elena found pleasure in watching him flinch just a fraction when her eyes settled on him. She'd chosen a look that softened suspicion. Intimate, generous. A woman offering an olive branch. She positioned herself in conversations to listen to donor names, to catalog who owed favors to whom. She donated publicly to a new museum project.